All right, so today we're talking about the dreaded F word of math. We're calling it factoring. Okay, so factoring. In algebra, this is a common skill that you will use throughout the rest of your high school or college career in math. So let's get started. We're going to come up with these 5 steps to help us with problems 1 and 2. These 5 steps will allow you to do any factoring problem that your teacher or professor gives you. So let's go through our steps here. Starting with our first step is to take out the GCF. GCF is short for greatest common factor. It has to be true of all the factors that you're given in an expression. 2, finding the factors of A times C that add to B. We're going to make this little butterfly and we're going to be finding its wings. Number 3, replace B with those 2 factors and you're going to include the variables. 4, split the expression down the middle and take out the GCF of each side. This is also called factor by grouping, which if you've come this far in your factoring career, you've done factor by grouping. And then number 5, write the answer as the GCF, the matching terms in parentheses, and the leftovers in parentheses. Let's start with an easy example. Here, the blue example, number 1, x squared minus 3x minus 54. So to get started, number 1, take out the GCF. So looking at these 3 terms, we're thinking, what do they all have in common? Looking at variables, do they all have a variable in common? No. Looking at the numbers, do all 3 terms have the same number somewhere hidden in there? Well, this guy doesn't have a apparent number, so we think of what is in front of here. This is a 1. So the only thing they have in common is a 1, and we don't write that because us math people don't like to waste our time. I'm not going to waste my time with that 1, so goodbye, we're done with that. Step number 2, finding the factors of A times C that add to B. Right here, I've already started. I have my x. And again, we're going to find A times C here and B down here. So what are A, B, and C you're asking? Good question. A is the number in front of your first term. B is the number in front of this second term. And finally, C is this number finally, ending right here. So again, what is this imaginary number that we don't write? 1. So the 1 times the negative 54 is going to be negative 54. Wahoo, we got it done. B is this negative 3. Please, please, please take this negative with you. Don't leave him there. He's coming down with us. This is a negative 3. And we have to find the wings. So what 2 numbers multiply to negative 54 and also add to negative 3? So this is the only guess and check part that we actually have to do in this whole thing. Right now, using your brain or your calculator, let's think. What multiplies to negative 54? 2 numbers that come to my mind are going to be 9 and 6. So I'm going to just, using a pencil, use your pencil please, write down 9 and 6. That multiplies to 54, which is very close, but it is not negative 54. So we need to put a negative sign somewhere. So I'm going to just throw it on that 6 there. Okay, that changes that to a negative 6. And now let's see, does this multiply to negative 54? Check. Does this multiply to, or sorry, does this add to negative 3? No. Okay, this is a positive 9, which would make that a positive 3. We're close, but we're not there. So again, I'm going to step back and go, okay, I'm so close, but not quite there. What if this was a negative and the 6 was positive? Negative 9 and positive 6? Why, yes, that does add to a negative 3. So we have figured this little puzzle out. That's the only guess and check you're doing through this entire process. And now we just continue with our steps. We found our wings. We're going to replace B with these 2 terms. This is B here. All right, and we're going to attach these variables on. So negative 3x is going to turn into negative 9x and a positive 6x. Does this add to negative 3? X. Yes, it does. Just checking ourselves there. Bring down the rest of your terms here. This is a x squared. And finally down here, we're bringing down our negative 54. All right, so now we have 4 terms instead of 3, but we haven't changed anything, so don't freak out. Down here, we're going to split this expression down the middle. So we've got 4 total. We're going to split it right down the middle and have 2 on each side. There we go. Very clearly, we have 2 sides. Looking at just this first side here, we're going to find the GCF of each side. Again, this is factor by grouping. So looking here, what do they have in common? Well, they both have 1x in common. So when I'm doing this, I'm dividing that x out. So I'm going to actually show dividing by x, and I'm taking that common factor out front. What do I have left over? X squared divided by x leaves you with x here. And then the negative 9x divided by x, the x's cancel, and this is negative 9. Now, this is the coolest part of the whole thing. Don't blink, all right? Right here, leaving a spot. This has to match. These parentheses, they have to be the same, so just copy it. Just copy it over. That's it, you're done. Okay, now we have to find what goes right here. So looking up at the second half of our factor by grouping, think, what can I divide away from both of these factors, these terms, that will give me x minus 9? Pause, pause, pause. Do you see it? They both have a 6. So I can take a 6. What kind of 6? A positive 6. Please write this positive sign in there, this plus sign, very important. Now, we're so close, we are almost done. We are on step number 5. Write the answer as the GCF, which if you remember back at the beginning, it was just 1, so we're not writing that. Matching. What are our matching terms here? The x minus 9. And finally, what are our leftover terms? X plus 6. And we have our final answer. Put that in a nice little box, circle it, something that draws your attention to that as your final answer. Now some of you out there are going, that was extremely hard way of doing a very easy problem. I used this thing called FOIL. I could have done it in one step and we've been done about, 5 minutes ago. Great, good for you, very proud of you. However, FOIL on something much harder is a little bit more difficult, and I want to give you a strategy that will work on any problem that you are given. So let's attack this more difficult round problem over here. So going through our 5 steps again, looking at these numbers and variables, what is our greatest common factor? Okay, we're on step number 1. What do they all have in common? Okay, well, they don't have any variables in common. But the numbers, I'm seeing even numbers, so I know for sure there's at least a 2, but I think it's bigger than that, so I'm going to get my calculator out here. Please do not poke around on your calculator. Put it in your hands like you were texting your buddy, and start playing here, okay? 12 divided by what? Let's say 6, okay? Well, that's 2, so that goes in there. Do you think 6 goes into 90? Let's check. Sure does. It's going to be 15. Do you think 6 goes into negative 162? Sure does. 6 is our greatest common factor here. So let's go ahead and take that out first. So we're going to take our GCF of 6 out front, put everything else in parentheses. Remember, you're dividing everything by 6, and it comes out nice and pretty. So we've got 2x squared plus 15x minus 27. Again, use your calculator. If you can't do that in your head, no problems. Now, I'm not forgetting about my 6. It's very important, but I'm just going to leave him here for a minute. Okay, and now we're going to attack what's on the inside. All right, we're going to go over here. Find the factors of a times c that add to b, this cute little butterfly thing we're doing here. What is a times c? Well, a is this term, c is this last term here. So 2 times negative 27 is a negative 54. Oh, fancy that. They match. I didn't even plan that. Woo. And then our b term is positive 15. So we need to find these cute little wings here that are going to multiply to negative 54, and that would add to 15. So let's play with some numbers. Again, well, hey, let's try 9 and 6 because that worked for us last time. And we'll just think about some signs. Let's see, it has to multiply to a negative. One of them is going to be negative. Okay. So this would multiply to negative 54, but check, does it add to a positive 15? No. This would add to a positive 3. So that's not going to work. And even if I shift this negative on this side, it's still not going to work. So that was a wrong guess. All right, no big deal. Let's try again. I'm getting on my calculator now. 54 is divisible by 3. So 3 and 18, 3 and 18, 3 and 18. Let's play with these. Okay, now here one of them has to be negative. Remember, we're multiplying, and if it's a negative, one of them has to be negative. So I'm just going to make the 18 negative and see. 3 plus a negative 18, does that equal a positive 15? No, but boy, are we close, because that equals negative 15. Let's just flip this negative sign over here to the 3. Make that a positive 18, and look, that turns out beautifully. It turns into a positive 15. Moving right along now. We're going to take these butterfly wings, add the variables, and put them right here. So this is a negative 3x plus 18x. And I'm going to bring down the 2x squared and the negative 27. I'm not forgetting about my GCF, okay? I'm not forgetting. I'm just not going to write them right now because it's going to clutter this up. So don't forget about him, but we're not rewriting him. Chill, no big deal. Keep going, factor by grouping. So looking here, we're going to split this right down the middle. what do I have in common here? Let's see, what do I have in common here? Well, they both have an x, so let's take the x out front. Now the 2 and the negative 3, there is nothing in common there, so I'm going to bring this down to x minus 3. Remember, I'm taking the x from both. I'm leaving a space and I'm recopying, okay? Don't think too hard. Don't make it harder than it is. Just recopy. And now think, what do I divide away from an 18x and a negative 27, or yeah, negative 27, that's going to give me 2x minus 3. Well, a 9. Positive 9 or negative 9? Positive 9. So I'm going to put positive 9. All right, final step, writing our final answer. Write the answer as the GCF. Hey, that 6 comes back to us now. Bring him down. I'm going to write my matching parentheses, and then finally my leftovers. Put him in a nice little box to draw my attention to him, and you're done. You've taken a very difficult problem, and with these steps, you've made it look really easy. Good luck.